How's it going, guys? What's up? It is Desmu or Steve, however you want to call me, from Red Riot Games, and I'm joined here today with our champion here, Yuki, the we call him the Ranger Queen. So, welcome. First question I want to ask: You're playing out of West Canada. Is it in Vancouver you're playing from?
Yeah, I'm living in Vancouver, so playing in some local events in the area.
Mm,
Mostly draft events are firing at the moment, and then we play some webcam events, largely Blitz actually, but
mhm.
some CC as well when it's like nationals coming up or a bigger event.
So this coming to nationals, is this the first time you traveled across Canada or just traveled in general for a nationals event, or not a national event, for any event really for TCG, or have you traveled before for other card games?
I've traveled before for Magic. I don't think I've traveled out to the East Coast specifically, but
Hmm.
I've gone to Calgary, Seattle, Portland,
Hmm.
Vegas for Magic. So I've been
Okay.
I've been over been around for Magic a little bit, but for Flesh and Blood, this is definitely the first event that I really traveled to. Everything else has just been local. I was pretty tempted to go to some of the calling events, especially the Las Vegas one with the world premiere of
Hmm.
Tales that looks
Sales,
so cool.
yeah.
But yeah, just between the timing and some of the travel restrictions, it didn't seem like the best choice for me.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was really fun getting to travel and meet some of the people I've been talking to on Discord and just like
Yeah.
get to see everybody. That was like one of the biggest highlights of the weekend for me.
Yeah, I gotta say, I've been playing on the Canadian Discord for almost a year, and it was like surreal to see like just like I remember already wrote my stuff on the site what I thought about it, but just to reiterate it, it was like kind of emotional, right? Because like these are like friends from afar, and a lot of people that went through a lot of personal things. Some people lost family, some people have lost jobs, et cetera, and getting to like this is the only thing we get to do like once or twice or three times a week online, and then getting to actually meet friends through it, and now traveling across Canada with friends we made from Discord to like a whole other part of the country to meet more friends, right? It's like I think like as much negative as there is with the pandemic, this is something that's really positive that came out of it. You know, um, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it really just kind of like I felt, yeah, I always felt like there was a Canadian scene, but when we all got to get together for nationals and actually meet in person, it really
Hmm.
felt like that much more
Hmm.
real and tangible. And just like, it was so nice to see so many people. And there's a lot of people that I didn't even actually
Hmm.
really know, but everybody was just so friendly and so happy to be there that it was just really enjoyable experience.
We could say it's very Canadian. It's like everyone
Nice,
was
yeah.
like uber friendly. I gotta say, it kind of did it feel any time when you're playing in the event and um, like you're playing with like kind of distant friends in a way. Like these are people that you kind of know from the Discord, and like are they like you guys ask, oh, do you play on the Discord? Oh, you do. You're so and so, and they're like, oh, I know you from these events. Like, did you have any kind of experiences like that?
Yeah, I definitely had a few people that I bumped into that I had talked to before. Names are failing me right now, but I definitely did have that experience more than once, and it was really cool to just kind of like some people that I didn't even like. Of course they're there, but I hadn't really thought about it. And I was like, oh hey, like we chatted about this, or
Mm-hmm.
we traded cards, or whatever. And it was
Mm-hmm.
it was just really nice to just go, oh hey, how's it going, and
Yeah.
just have that point of connection.
So, running a compare and contrast between Flesh and Blood and Magic, so is there things that you really like about Flesh and Blood that has you wanting to play this game and traveling for it, as opposed to continuing to play Magic?
Yeah, there's a few things. The Magic competitive scene is been slowly being dismantled in a lot of ways. It's just not a priority for Wizards right now,
Hmm.
which is fair. They're a business; they got to make money, but
Yeah.
it's a little bit unfortunate to see. And I feel like at the same time, Flesh and Blood's really been picking up. But even before that sort of like prize support and tournament structure and organized play that is so appealing, I think that Flesh and Blood is just such an amazing game. really, really like how all the games feel close. I really like how I always feel like I've played cards, even if I've lost badly. And that's something that, like, as much as I love Magic, and I think I will always play it
Mhm.
somewhat, it's really hard to want to fly to events sometimes, or drive many hours to get to an event, and then just
Mhm.
show up and maybe you just don't draw lands, or you only draw lands, and
Yeah.
you know that's your whole event gone. And sure, there's side events and there's other things, and that's fun, but that variance can be, you learn to deal with it a bit, but it's definitely not my favorite part of the game. Whereas I
Yeah.
feel like Flesh and Blood has like just the right amount of variance where it doesn't feel like I'm playing chess. It doesn't feel like every game's the same, where like I can't ever beat somebody if they're a really strong player. But
Mhm.
it does feel like you always like have some agency and have some control over the game, which is probably my favorite thing about it.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
So whenever I ask someone, when someone asks me what does Flesh and Blood play like, I usually don't refer it to another card game. Usually, I just refer to it like saying, "Have you ever played Diablo? This is like Diablo PvP, but with cards, right?" And then that usually gets them to kind of get around the whole like equipment, rarity, and equipment, and why this is, oh, that's a legendary, oh, that's like an epic rare kind of, you know what I mean? So I like those comparisons, and I definitely know what you mean. I'm been trying to dip my way into Commander here, although apparently every deck I play, everyone hates. Like I tried to play a Shieldred deck, and they're like, "Oh no, everyone kills that." I'm like, "Oh, what's this Urza one? Oh, that's a kill on sight." I'm like, I love this game. I just love how every character I play is the one to kill. Well, like, I definitely had games where I'm like, land, 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 great. Whereas in Flesh and Blood, it feels like unless you're like a full hand of red, which doesn't happen very often, but it sucks when it does. You always have like a hand you can play, right? And so you can always do a thing, unless your opponent doesn't let you, because they're like Reinhardt, like no cards in your hand today. But you always feel like you get to play, right? And I think that that's the very strong part of Flesh and Blood. Now, was Azalea like the first character you were playing before Lexi, or did you kind of flirt around with a different characters and classes in this game?
Yeah, when I first picked up the game, it was kind of around like very late Arcane Rising, early crew
Mhm.
time, but I
Yeah.
was mostly just exploring with a friend and just trying the game out. So I was kind of trying all of the classes, but
Mhm.
Azalea was actually, yeah, an early favorite of mine. I just loved the bow mechanic and the arsenal, and it just felt really right, and you could
Mhm.
get some really awesome turns. With like rapid fire and things like that. And maybe not the best cards, but
Mhm.
really fun and really flavorful, and definitely one of the things that I just loved about the game. When I first started like getting into more organized play and playing armories, I did bring Azalea to Blitz, knowing that it wasn't a high tier deck or anything. And I had my fun with it. I got some okay results. I would come in like third sometimes and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So I was doing okay, but it definitely felt always like an uphill battle. And there was quite a while where I wasn't playing Ranger, and I was just playing a lot of Prism, played some Chain. Um,
Mhm.
I'm fairly competitive, so as much as I like to dabble, like it's easier for me to do that when I'm getting into the game. But then once
Yeah.
I'm playing in events, it's like, oh, I kind of would like to do well.
I think we all kind of reached that point with whatever card game it is, right? I mean, in Flesh, I tried really hard to win with Kasai, and after some point, I'm like, "There's not enough. Go again, my girl. You're terrible." Like, and it really sucks because I like the two-bladed like hero. I got my cards altered, so they like the characters from other games like let's go, get excited, and then like just like Ira's just doing what I'm doing but better, right? And also same thing with I did play Azalea at the beginning. I really, really, really liked the character. I'm like, just give me like 2 or 3 more cards. I swear this is a real character. But then like
Mhm.
I had a pink Power Ranger altar I still have of Azalea. As I was like, I'm ride or die, let's go. And I think after the fourth Wizard game, I was like, wow, I really can't win with this character. Although it can be a winnable matchup, but like let's admit it, our girl likes red, right? So,
Yeah.
but now when you saw when you saw Lexi, What was your initial reaction? Or let's actually let's go back. When you saw the headpiece, what was your initial reaction?
Yeah, I was really excited. I think a lot of people were expecting it, and when I saw it, I was like, "Wow, that's awesome!
Hmm.
Super flavorful and really cool." And I liked that it was a ranger piece that Azalea could use.
Hmm.
A little bit unfortunate that after closer inspection, you realize that her bow doesn't work with it, and she doesn't get to use the new bows. But it's
Yeah.
definitely a really awesome piece of equipment, and definitely a big draw into Lexi is just like having that flexibility to set up 6 card hands, but also to just use your arsenal a little bit more. Like sometimes when you're playing Azalea, you almost feel like you don't get to have an arsenal or you don't get to use it the way other characters do because it
Yeah.
can, like, you need it for your arrows and can get kind of backed up if you
Yeah.
get something stuck in there and it feels really bad.
Hmm.
Whereas New Horizon was just like such an obvious solution to all of that. So yeah, I was really excited to see New Horizon and really excited to just see a new Ranger and that we were getting new Ranger cards. That was like one of the things I was looking forward to the most.
I guess in a way I was hoping that she'd have a quiver. Like, look, come give this woman a quiver, or even a two-handed bow, or no, one-handed bow. Like crossbows. I don't know why.
Mhm.
I just when I saw Seek and Destroy, I'm like, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool, right? And you get your, is it Overloop, right? You also get that one. I think is the one I'm thinking of. What one gives the next one 4 damage for cost of
The
one?
Overflex, yeah.
Overflex, sorry, yeah. So I was like, oh yeah, Overloop's a mech card, but I was thinking like, let's go, let's go. And then I tried it in Lexi, and I found like, wow, she doesn't need this card. It's one of those like, if I could have it, that'd be cool, but I'd rather just load these things up more often. So so when you got a hold of Lexi, and you kind of started playing around with her, um, what was like your initially like how you felt about the way the character was being played?
Yeah, I felt like Lightning was really interesting in Classic Constructed. It could just put out so much damage. I was messing around with Death Dealer builds for quite a while with
Hmm.
like the Snapshot Death Dealer combo, which was really fun. But
Yeah.
I wound up feeling like sometimes I was like taking a lot of game actions and drawing a lot of cards, but maybe not as powerful as I'd like.
Yeah.
And I tried like Voltaire Lightning builds as well. And
Hmm.
again, like I guess in this case, I thought the deck was very, very powerful, but I also
Hmm.
felt like you just didn't have that much flexibility in your game plan. Like you're just kind of attack, attack, attack. And
Hmm.
if you drew well, you were really hard to beat. And if your opponent drew like lots of command and conquers and you stumbled a bit, it was really hard to win.
Thank
So
thank goodness for those perch grapplers. Just
yeah,
throw
for
the 2 block
sure.
away.
Yeah,
um.
no, like you just really want it as Ranger. You just don't block well at all.
y-
So that was kind of my initial experiences.
mhm.
In the Blitz side, I was playing actually Ice Lexi pretty much from the start. I had sort of thought that Ice Lexi might be pretty nice into some of the heroes. Like Heart of Ice seemed really good into Kano.
Mhm.
Um, Taxing Ira's Flick Flax seems like a great way to make them like take away some of that efficiency that she gets.
Mhm.
Um, so I've been playing around with Ice Lexi pretty much as soon as I had the cards to do it,
Mhm.
and the deck was pretty impressive. I still think the deck's pretty solid in Blitz. Ira is tough, but you have some play in that matchup for sure. And then a lot of the other matchups like Dorenthia's and I don't know about the most recent Briar decks. I'm a little bit out of touch with Blitz right now, but
Mhm.
before when I was playing and people were trying Briar, it just Ice Lexi just smashed them in Blitz. You were really really powerful. You could push a ton of damage, disrupt them, and the deck was really really fun. It was kind of just like my pet Blitz deck, but I never really for a long time I never really thought it would be like a CC deck or anything like that. So
I kind of feel like China Lake Frigid makes mech just like cringe. The second it's on the board, like, oh wow, pew pew for +1 now, damn it, right? So that's I
yeah.
mean that's amazing. So now how often are you playing Flesh and Blood? Like when you're leading up to a tournament, are you playing 3 or 4 hours a day? Are you playing just one game here or there? Are you going the whole 8 hour route, and just slapping the deck against whatever is the top deck at the time and seeing how many games you can win? Like what's kind of like a training regiment for a national champion?
Yeah, so it kind of depends for me. In the summer, so I'm a high school teacher. I teach
Wow.
business and math, and so it really kind of depends on the time of year for me.
Mhm.
In the summer leading up to Road to Nationals, I was testing almost every night with some of my friends or just kind of whoever I could find. Or sometimes I just was like so into the game that I'd like have two decks and just play them against each other and just try and learn some of the interactions that way. So I was really playing a lot in the summer leading up to Road to Nationals. But for Nationals itself, I had kind of had to put so much time into grinding XP since I bubbled out of the one Road to Nationals I could go to. And then by the time Nationals was rolling around, it was like report card season, and I was also trying to get ready for drafts. So it was
Mhm.
it was hard to fit in as many games as I would have liked.
Mhm.
Um, I guess I was drafting anywhere from one to three times a week, mostly between one and two. I would say I
Mhm.
did really put in my reps for draft. I thought that was a place where I could get an edge.
Mhm.
Um, and then in terms of constructed, I didn't test very much initially, but when we were starting to get to the like 3 weeks, 4 weeks out kind of range, I was starting to test, trying to make sure I got in like at least a game per day, and
Mhm.
sometimes as many as like three or four. But it really sort of depended on my work schedule and just how much I could swing in there. So yeah, for a long time it was basically just work, sleep, flesh and blood, and that's about it. And find time to eat and shower and do whatever else you have to do. But
Yeah.
any of my free time was pretty much going into the game. But it was often just a few hours a day kind of thing, just because that's all I could really manage.
So whenever you were sorry, whenever you were testing, say with other players, that is some crazy. Their phone. I didn't know there was a phone back here. Sorry. So whenever you were testing with friends, right? Was there like a character pool of well, a bunch of characters that you're just like, okay, I need you to play this, or you need to play that, or there's gonna be, say, for example, there's going to be a lot of prisms, at an event, or prisms the current character that everyone's using. So you need to have a lot of prisms that you're fighting against, or a particular build of prism that you're fighting against. Like, would you go into these sessions with the intention of trying to fight against people using specific characters or specific deck builds?
Yeah, we'd often test whatever matchup we thought was going to be most relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So initially, there was quite a bit of playing into Prism, playing into Bravos, and so those were kind of the big two decks.
Mm-hmm.
In Road to National season, I was actually primarily a Prism player, and I thought that's what I was going to be bringing to Nationals
Mm-hmm.
initially, just because it was a comfort pick, and it
Mm-hmm.
seemed pretty well positioned, and I knew the deck inside and out. So I was often the player testing Prism, but or like if Prism was involved, I was often the player playing it. But yeah, we all kind of took different decks that we would learn and try to get good at, and just sort of try out the different matchups. And a lot of it was trying to like understand the meta game and understand like the best decks and how to attack them and what worked into them.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of the decks, especially the ones that we were maybe slightly less familiar with, we would tend to pull from lists online that had done well because we expected that a lot of people would be building
Mm-hmm.
either the same list or things very close to it. So we figured that was kind of the best way to emulate what we might be playing against in a nationals type setting.
Now, was there any players in particular that you were concerned, not concerned, but like thinking like, okay, this is going to be, if I compare him to this player, or this may be more difficult than say like any other player. Was there anybody you were concerned with playing against in the event that maybe you hadn't played online through the many events that we've had, or in person?
Um, so not really. I would say that coming from Magic, I've played a pretty wide range of players, like people who have been on the Pro Tour, people who have won Pro
Mm-hmm.
Tours, people who
Okay.
have won DPs, people who are just pros. I've even had the luck to draft with them before. So
Mm-hmm.
I try not to get too intimidated by the player. I find that just doing what you know and playing the best that you can usually leads to the best results. So luckily, I didn't really have like there was players that I thought were good for sure. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
um, Dante, Demos. There was a lot of like very well known players that I thought would be strong,
Mhm.
but I was never really like worried or nervous about it either. Um, that being said, going into the actual event, I was worried about playing against Demos, mostly because of the matchup. Oldham is quite tough for Ice Lexi, and I very nearly had to play him in the top eight, but
Mhm.
just barely managed to dodge him. But I had actually already played him in Swiss and lost to him, and I really wasn't looking forward to that matchup in top eight if I had to play it. But again,
Fair
it's
enough.
more the matchup than the player themselves.
Was there any rogue decks that you did not expect to face in the event that kind of caught you off guard?
Yeah, I suppose. I guess Keno. I know that there are a few very strong Keno players in Canada, but I hadn't really. I'd sort of just banked on not playing against it, and it wasn't a deck that I had tested against a whole lot. So I didn't really come packing any null rune, and I also just
Oh.
didn't draw any of my disruption that game. So it was a really hard game.
Mhm.
I got to push damage by going like bolt and shot, bolt and shot, bolt and shot, but
Mhm.
Kano doesn't really care about that. He's pretty happy to eat 15 and then just hit you harder. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was a tough game and definitely caught me a little bit off guard. But
Sneaky Kanos.
yeah, by and large, I was expecting mostly Briar and mostly Bravo, and that's
Yeah.
for mostly what I played.
Yeah.
There's actually a little less Bravo than I expected, but yeah, the Briar pick was definitely like right on the money. It was just so many Briars everywhere.
Briars everywhere. Did you end up maybe fighting any Reiners? Like I actually don't think I saw a single one. Uh, Jeez.
Yeah, no, I didn't see any Reinhards. I think I saw one against a Prism.
Mhm.
Like I was walking by their table, but I didn't play either of those heroes at all. I
That's
think I
probably a
played.
sad table right there.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think I played against like five Briars. I played the Mirror once. I played against Demos's Oldham.
Mhm.
Um, played against Kano. Played against one Bravo. I think that's everything.
So
Yeah.
I believe we had a chase the case event here. So once a month, once a set, once a set we get the first edition of whatever the set is, and we just like first, second, third, and fourth all get one box of that first edition and some other whatever pricing we currently have. And we had like six prisms in that event. And knowing that Prism was the current meta, we had also seven Reinhards show up to the event, and as like this is just a bunch of green guys chasing, chasing some illusionists around the place. It's like this the whole idea of it was hilarious. To be like just imagining Reinhardt chasing Prism throughout the event, like and I couldn't stop laughing. And every once in a while, someone, "What are you laughing about?" Like, this event is funny. I never thought there's so many Rhinos would show up randomly, and there's so many prisms, and they all kept on pairing into each other. At one point, at no point did the prisms fight each other. They always fought a Rhino or just somebody else. And then one guy sat down, and he's like, looked up, he's like, "Oh, seriously?" Like, it's another one. It's like, ah, what do you know? They're occupying all the tables. So now, looking back after the event, like there's got to be a great sense of accomplishment on your end. Um, First of all, you came from the other side of the country, right? You come into potentially enemy territory, right, on the other side of the country, right?
Yeah.
And you're playing a character who people aren't expecting to win, right? But and that is also like the character you want to play rather than the character that's just the current meta. This character sounds like the character you want to play, and you're playing on ice, which is cool because it's a Canadian event, so that's kind of extra lulz, right? And then like you know you're the first Canadian champion, you're the first female champion of any event anywhere on the planet. So like it's like all these different levels of accomplishment that you get to have from that. How does it feel like when you go back to the hotel and you get to sit by yourself for once and just take it all in? Like, what's the initial thought process?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I was largely in disbelief for quite a while. I just remember like when I won and when I had, finally taken out Sean in the finals, I just sort of,
Mhm.
I think I leaned back in my chair and just like took a deep breath and I was like, oh my goodness, like I can't believe that
Mhm.
I just won.
Mhm.
And yeah, a lot of it just felt kind of surreal. Um, I actually didn't get time to myself right away. I was staying with a couple friends, and we went for dinner, and that was really nice. We got to chat and celebrate, and it was a lot of fun. But it wasn't until like a day or two after that it really started to sink in, and people were starting to, message me about interviews or podcast or thoughts about the deck or things like
Yeah.
this. And I was like, whoa, I've never had like just people I don't know wanting to talk to me. And that's when it started sinking in. So yeah, I'm definitely really proud of what I've achieved. Felt amazing. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to just being able to play in more events. And in a lot of ways, this was kind of a dream event for me. It being mixed format was super awesome. It's
Mhm.
something I've always wanted to do. Like
Mhm.
I love the idea of mixed formats. I think loving draft really helps, and you don't really get to do draft only events much. Besides skirmish, which
Mhm.
is coming up and really awesome, but for the most part, you don't get to play just draft, and so the mixed format event was
Mhm.
super exciting, and getting to play what is like kind of my pet deck in a way was really cool, and getting to take it all the way and win with it was really exciting. And I like that I like, as much as it was sort of a pet deck of mine and it was what I wanted to play, like you said, I also felt like it was the right choice going in, and I definitely had a little bit of like, oh, should I just be playing Briar or is Lexi good? And but I really ended up feeling strongly about Lexi and sticking with it, and just to
Mhm.
have that be the deck that I won with was just unbelievable and just so awesome.
I think maybe I think it's also just still a little touch on the nose that it was an ice build. I I think it's just funny because this is Canada, right? It's like of course ice won. uh, you know, but like I know I think like anybody in Canada should be proud of you, but most importantly, you should be proud of yourself, right? This is, like you said, this is a dream come true, right? And so, but keep in mind, you're gonna have hungry rivals now when you go to Worlds, right? Because I believe this gets you a auto shoe in for Worlds, right? So whenever Worlds happens, wherever it happens, are we gonna be seeing you there? Like if it's in New Zealand, are you flying all the way to New Zealand?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm waiting for the details, but
Mhm.
as far as I know, like I know that I get a PTI from this event. I don't know if, like Worlds is like
Mhm.
also qualified automatically from nationals or not. I have no idea, but
Mhm.
Worlds is definitely the one event that I really want to go to. I think it's
Yeah.
just going to be so incredible, especially to go to the first one when, all the different scenes come together. It's going to be
Yeah.
so interesting because like there's all this talk of like which region is the strongest and all this stuff, and we really don't know, right? Like there's just
Yeah.
no way to know, and that's what's so cool about all of these events is like when everyone's coming together, it's just like
Yeah.
you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know who's going to win. You might have your guesses, but
My,
we haven't really all gotten together and gotten to play before. So
Yeah, I believe
really looking
Matt
forward to
Rogers
it.
entered into the last calling event there at in the States, and he did not win that event, right? So, and I think we had a Canadian in second place as well. So it goes to show like as this game continues to evolve, as more cards continue to come out for it, and as the strength of the greater strength of the community continues to grow, that it's really going to be anyone's game, right?
Mhm.
Kind of like UFC. You got champions from all over the world, right? And I think that's a good look for the game. That's not heavily dominated by one region or another. Now, COVID does restrict a lot of the traveling for a lot of players, but as it appears, that's starting to go away, at least in Canada, right? So it's starting to go away now. It
Mhm.
looks like it doesn't exist in the States almost. So with that in mind, we're going to see a lot more people traveling to a lot more events, and I'm excited to go to any event and just see people from all over the world. I love seeing people from all over Canada fighting against each other, and I'm cheering for everybody, because in the end, at the end of the day, Canada wins, right?
Yeah.
So now going back to Azalea, we know that in the next set, the Everfest set, we're going to see support for every character, they said. Not every class, they said every character. I cannot imagine what we will see for Kano. Would like to see zero cards. But what is some cards that you would like to see for Azalea that you think that I mean Quiver? I don't know. Like what would you like to see for this character that would help bring her as a stronger entry to Blitz and also CC.
Yeah, I don't think she needs a lot, but she does need something. I think some more go again could be really big for her, or some more reload. I
Hmm.
find it's often hard to use your hand as Azalea, and
Hmm.
you don't block well, so you can't really just do one
Hmm.
attack and dominate.
Yeah.
And then you also can't really go wide that easily unless you start playing a lot of generics like,
Hmm.
Ravenous Rabble and Scar for a Scar, and then you really don't block well, and you have this only red line deck, and it's,
Hmm.
that's how people have been playing Azalea, and it's not bad, but it doesn't quite get there. So I think maybe some more natural go again could really help her, or some more reload so that she can just like utilize cards in hand and maybe utilize three of a kind would be huge for her. The other thing that I think could be very interesting for Ranger in general, and kind of secretly I'm hoping, is that like you said, like maybe some kind of quiver or something where like if we could get arrow tokens or something like that, so you have like more functional weapon, would be super cool. Just like a repeatable way to get a, I don't know, a 3 damage arrow token in your arsenal, or something. I
Give
haven't.
to me arrows,
Yeah.
please. Give
Yeah.
me more arrows. I think even a one-handed weapon, I would be cool with this. I mean, she's a ranger, right? And rangers use other weapons than just bows, right? So, who knows? I mean, where this could go. I'd love to have traps on the field, or something. I don't know what direction they will want to go with them, but like Seek and Destroy feels like a step in the right direction. I just, it just needs just a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
Lexi is obviously the greater of the two because she's actually won the event so far. But I like in a perfect world that both of them face off in the finals. Two arrows are flying across each other, right? Like I just think it'd be cool, right? But
Yeah, totally.
did you have any final comments you wanted to leave out here for all the other people that are playing Lexi, or for all the other people that are looking to I guess seek and destroy that title you got? I'm just kidding. But is there any final comments you want to leave out there?
Yeah, for sure. I just think that there's so much to this game and to this class, and to Lexi in particular. Like, I think there's just so many ways to build this hero. And
Hmm.
I mean, as much as I like my deck and I think that it did really well for me and I'm happy with it for this event, I think that it's not like the deck's solved or the work's done.
Hmm.
I think that there's so much room to innovate and adapt to new meta games, and I'm really just curious to see what people come up with. And I think more than anything is just like look at other people's decks and borrow from them, but also don't be afraid to make changes or play what makes sense to you or matches your play style. I think in this game, especially, like you need to have plans for all your matchups, and putting cards in because Matt Rogers or whoever put those cards in their deck and you don't know what they're doing isn't going to do a lot of good. You're much better off having a very clear, coherent game plan that you can execute on and that makes sense to you. So yeah, just keep exploring, and if you're enjoying Ranger, I mean, I think that Lexi has lots of tools to do well, and there's just so many possibilities out there for the class.
All right. And with that, I'm going to say thank you, Yuki, for your time today. And I look forward to seeing some more creative decks from you. I'm looking forward to see what you do with Zelia, because you said you're a Zelia player. So I'm looking forward to see what you do with that. And thank you again so much for taking the time here. With that said, we'll call this interview to an end, and you take care of yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.